Yes, well, you can say it too. Happy Mother's Day. It's okay to say that. If you're visiting with us, I want to thank you for being here. When you look in the pew in front of you, you should see a bulletin just like this. This is for you. Do us a favor, take that home with you because it's going to have a lot of different information about the church, maybe any questions you have about specific ministries we have. We also have a Bible right there with it. That Bible is yours. If you don't have a Bible, take that Bible. We want that Bible in your home, not sitting in this pew. And if you are also a visitor, we'd love for you to do us a favor. When you came to the door, hopefully you got a bulletin just like this. If you will fill that out for us and put that in the offering plate at the end of the service when it comes around, we have a gift that we want to send you. We're going to send you a letter with some information on the church and different things. So again, do us a favor, fill that out, put that in the offering plate when it comes around here in just a few minutes. All right, First Baptist folks, here's what I want you to do. I want you to find somebody that you don't recognize their name. Don't just say, hey, but go up, introduce yourself. Tell them who you are and say thank you for being here. So let's go find somebody we don't know and say hello. She's going to present a gift to the family, and she's going to go after Eddie. Eddie, go ahead.
All right, thank you very much. At the end of the charge, you will just respond with we do, to say you agree with it. All right, to the parents, charge to the parents. It says, parents, you are bringing this child into God's presence to be dedicated to Him. By this statement of faith, do you commit that together you will raise them in a way that pleases God by instructing them in God's Word, by introducing them to Christ's love and their need for His salvation, by modeling godliness in your home and marriage, by protecting them from evil influences, by teaching them to rely on the power of the Holy Spirit, and by regularly fellowshipping with other believers in a Christ-centered church family. All right, church family, now it's our turn to take part in our relationship with these families and our duty to them. Members of First Baptist Leaves, today these parents are bringing their children into God's presence to be dedicated to Him. Do you, as a church, as a church family, commit to surround them with the love, grace, and truth of the body of Christ Jesus. Will you stand with them in prayer, speak the truth and love into their lives, serve them in humility, and encourage them in the Word of God? Do you receive these children as a blessing from the Lord to be instructed, protected, and blessed in this fellowship of believers?
We do.
Thank you very much. All right, now Miss Diana come up and present just a little token commemorating this day. These families' commitments, our commitments to them. All right, church family, if you will, pray with me now. Dear Heavenly Father, we are thankful for these families, for these children. But we do know that they are a blessing to us. The children are a blessing to their families, to the church as a whole. We thank you for them. We thank you for families that do commit to raising their children under the rules of God, under the presence of your Savior. We know that goes against the norms of the world. And so we're thankful for those that stand up and do commit to raising children in a godly environment. We know how precious they are. We thank you for them. We thank you for the families. We thank you for how they serve us. And we do pray that you'll be with us as we reflect on how we can serve them. Our responsibility to them to provide the support and love that they need in raising these children. We thank you for all you do. Bless us within our lives. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. What a blessing it is to be able to commit these children to live in an environment where they learn the fear and admonition of the Lord. They will be raised in a home that's in a loving environment. It's incredibly exciting to see, and we appreciate that. Would y'all please stand and join us as we enter into our time of worship, as we sing about a great Hosanna.
Holy
incredible, difficult God to describe. He is wonderful and awesome in every way. From the heights to the heights, to the depths of the sea. Creation beneath your majesty. From the colors of fall to the fragrance of spring. Every creature unique in the song that it sings. All explaining, indescribable, uncontainable. You place the stars in the sky and you build them by name. You are amazing, all-powerful, unattainable, awestruck, we go to your knees and we humbly proclaim.
be the poster mom, but I know that that's never going to happen. Ooh, I really struggle with trying to be perfect. I see so many moms that look like they're doing it the right way, and I've always dealt with perfectionism in my life, and so being a mom has multiplied it.
There are some days where I feel like I'm not as compassionate as I feel like I should be. There's other times where I feel like I am I feel like I just can't handle being a mom sometimes. And there's days where it's just too heavy. Life just around me just feels too heavy.
I struggle a lot. I struggle with patience. I struggle with time. When you have two, it's harder than the first time. So having mom guilt with not having enough of one or the other. I struggled a lot with enjoying all the phases of motherhood, and it took me a while to really discover it. It was a huge effort for me to find what I enjoyed about being a mother, and finding that it really was my job and my calling to raise these 3 little babies. And yeah, that's been hard, and just enjoying motherhood.
Her hugs, they're just the best, I guess. He makes me pancakes for breakfast today. Probably my favorite thing to do is play games with her and play games. Usually we cuddle together or cuddle. She gets me to have fun and she's never frustrated about it. She forgives me quickly and she likes having girl time with me, and she just likes hanging out with me. She buys some clothes and a house and food and other stuff. She's always there for me. I miss her when she's gone. Because I just know that she loves me so much, and because she spends time with me and loves me, and she's the best and beautiful. It's hard to describe because she does so many things, but it's like mixed into one. But when like we're baking, she is like just happy, and I like it when she's happy, and it makes me feel loved. I love you like so much. Like I love my mom to the moon and back 5,000 times.
There's an old saying. It says, "Mother's a name for God in the lips and hearts of little children." It was first written by a guy named William Thackeray. He's a 19th century Victorian writer. Wrote a lot of stuff, and a lot of it was about his mama. It was a man who in the 19th century loved his mama and talked about how much his mama meant to him and how much his mama gave him. And that phrase, though maybe about 150 years old, I think is just as valuable today as it was then. I could sit up here and spend 20 minutes going over the stats and going over the statistics. And if you've been here long enough, you know I love numbers, I love stats, I love statistics. I think they prove points. We could spend the whole sermon today looking at how much time moms, and listen, not just moms, but those other ladies around us, those teachers, those neighbors, those Sunday school teachers, the ladies who work at Vacation Bible School, just all the different women who are part of our community that invest in us and love us, and how much they give and how important they are in the life of a child. And in setting that framework, in setting that foundation for that child to be on the right path. It is an unbelievable amount of time, energy, and effort that these women give to be able to love their children. The vast majority of their adult lives is giving. They use it giving and serving. I want us to take some time, if you got your Bible, turn to Proverbs chapter 22. Because when we talk about giving, when we talk about what it means to give, Proverbs chapter 22, Solomon gets to the point where he's towards the end of his life and he writes this one. And he's a man that's made a lot of mistakes. He's a man that has wealth, he has fame, he has all the things that the world says is success and how the world defines success, but he has got some major issues in his life, he has turmoil in his family, and he's getting to the point in Proverbs chapter 22 where he says, you know what? Man, a lot of this material stuff is just not getting it done. That's not what our kids need, that's not what our children need, that's not what the next generation needs. Listen, the material things are fine. Got no problem with that. I was one of these people, I swore up and down, I am not getting my kid a phone until they turn 16. Until they get a car, they are not getting a phone. Until that first time that my kid couldn't get a hold of somebody after basketball practice, and we didn't know where he was, and he didn't know where we were, and all these things happened, he said, well, I'm just going to just get him a phone. See, as parents, we say, well, we're not getting them this, and we're not going to buy this, and we're not going to, until Christmas rolls around, and they look at you with them big eyes, and you buy it for them. And then you get it for them, and you make an excuse in your mind. Well, it's okay this time to go ahead and buy this thing for my kid. And you do that because you love them. And a lot of times in life that we will mistakenly measure our love by how much we give them, by how much material stuff that we give them. Well, Solomon here in chapter 22 is saying, listen, there are 4 specific things that we need to give our kids that can't be measured monetarily. They can't be measured by how much you can buy it on Amazon or how many payments you have to make on Loveaway. It can't be measured by those things. Because these are the things that set the foundation for your child's life. So if you got your Bible, look at Proverbs chapter 22. The verses will be up on the board. We're going to look at 4 specific things that your child really needs. That if you want your child to be successful as an adult. And parents, is that not our job? Is that not our job? To make sure that our kids become successful adults. Your job is not to be your child's best friend today. It's not. If you are your child's best friend, your child will stay a child. They may grow up and they may get big and smelly and hairy, but they're going to still be a child. Because we are more concerned about being their friend than their parent. And when we look at these things, we're going to come to an understanding that, listen, this stuff is hard. Because many times we don't even have them ourselves. We have to work on these things ourselves, much less being able to introduce them into the life of another human being. But when we do that, when we understand our role as parent, and we understand our role as guide, as teacher, then we can give our children what they really need. So if you got your Bible, the first one is really simple. And if you got your bulletin, you can follow along with me right there. There's a place in there where you can take some notes. And the first one is they must have a good name. They're going to have a good name. Look at verse 1. A good name is to be more desired than great wealth. Favor is better than silver and gold. Listen, please understand something. Your child's name is the most powerful thing they will ever have. You will never be able to buy your child something, make your child something, and give your child something that's more important, that's more impactful than the name that they have. What comes to people's mind when they hear your child's name is going to be one of the most important commodities they'll ever have. When somebody hears your child's name, what comes to their mind? When somebody says your child's name, what comes to their teacher's mind? What comes to their coach's mind, or their ballet instructor, or their this, or their that? What comes to their mind when they hear the name of your child? See, he says really quickly right here, listen, resources run out. They do. Resources will run out. Money will run out. Silver and gold, man, they're going to fade away. But your reputation and your child's reputation, man, they last forever. They last forever. And if we put them on a foundation where they're not guarding that reputation, they're not guarding what people think, then we're setting them on a path that can be very hard to turn around. You ever been someone or known someone that started out with a bad reputation, but they legitimately turned their life around? But they legitimately became a good person, they atoned for their mistakes, how hard was it for them to turn their life around and to turn that reputation around in the eyes of the community? And when I lived in Stevenson, there was a guy who paid me $50 every Wednesday to cook meals for our students. And he would cook these meals. And he did all kind of odd jobs, and we tried to keep him busy around the church. Because he had a really tough time finding a full-time job. And I'm convinced it was because he was a black man with no high school education and a felony when he was 18 years old. Because you know what he did when he was 18? He sold a small amount of drugs to an undercover cop. He sold a small amount of drugs to an undercover cop. He pleaded guilty. He did it. He made that mistake when he was 18. He got convicted of a felony. He went to prison, served his time, came out a wonderful father, a wonderful man, and nobody would hire him. He had a reputation as a drug dealer. This man was in his 40s and still could barely find a job or pay the bills because of one mistake he made when he was 18 that set a foundation for his reputation. Folks, a good name can be an absolutely powerful thing. Have you ever heard somebody say, well, listen, I don't care what people think about me. I don't care what people think about me. Listen, you should. You better. Because that's your reputation. It is your reputation what people think about you. As somebody who hires and fires people, and over my career in ministry, I've had to hire and fire people. I wish we had more students here and understand they were their parents, but as parents, I want you to understand something for these kids. When I look at resumes, the experience and the talent and all those things are wonderful. Those are fine. But when I pick up the phone and I call those references, and I hear things like lazy, and shows up late, and not really a hard worker, and you ever heard that phrase? Well, that's not on my job description. I don't care what the resume says. I don't care how talented they are. I don't care how many degrees they have. If I hear a reference say, they like to use the phrase, that's not on my job description. Next. Next. Because somebody who has a good reputation, somebody who has a reputation of somebody who works hard, who shows up on time, who goes above and beyond, who completes projects, who is a man or woman of their word, is more important to me than facts on a resume. Because that tells me what kind of person they are. He says in verse 1, man, it's favor. A person with a good name finds favor. That means they are highly esteemed. They're highly esteemed, and it's worth more than silver and gold. Parents, it begins with us. Helping our kids understand the importance of a good name. Having a good name. Well, to do that leads us to our next one. Number 2 is they need a clear perspective. They're going to have a clear perspective. Look at verses 2 and 3. The rich and the poor have a common bond. The Lord is the maker of them all. Ultimately, he's saying, listen, it is a clean playing field. The Lord makes them all. It doesn't matter how many resources you have. When it comes down to these values, it is a clean playing field. Verse 3, the prudent see the evil and hide themselves, but the naive go on and they are punished for it. Now parents, moms, dads, grandparents, I want you to understand something. There's going to come a time in little Johnny's life, in little Susie's life, where they are going to have to make choices and you're not going to be there to help them. They're going to be faced with problems. They're going to be faced with issues. They're going to be faced with challenges. And you are not going to be there to help them make the right decision. You can hover. You can be at every parent's meeting. You can be involved in the school. You can be that mama that's on the fence during the Little League game. You can be all those things you want to be. But there's going to come a time where your child is going to be all alone. And they're going to be faced with some major life decisions. And the only thing that they have is the perspective that you've given them. They're going to have to choose on their own whether or not they're going to do the right thing or whether or not they're going to do the wrong thing. And that's why I love verse 2, because it really doesn't matter if you're rich or poor. It doesn't matter if you have a whole bunch of resources. It doesn't matter any of those things. Because it's going to come down to that child and the perspective on life that you give them. See, he lays out for us two examples here. He says you have the prudent and you have the naive. Now the prudent is simple. It means somebody who's aware. They're paying attention. They're seeing what's happening, going on around them. It says, see, the prudent, they watch. They use wisdom and knowledge to make the right decisions. Old football term is they always keep their head on the swivel. It means they're always looking around. I remember, Jared's over here, I think it was our junior year, we were playing Lincoln. And I remember about half that game. Because about halfway through that game, I don't remember if we were on kickoff or something, I just remember I was running down the field, and out of the corner of my eye, I saw this black helmet with a gold L on it. And then I remember it was Tuesday. Because in between seeing that helmet out of the corner of my eye and not keeping my head on the swivel, paying attention to what's going on, I had a coach who lovingly told me how he laid me out. Because I wasn't paying attention. Because I was just bebopping down the field doing my own thing. Not what I was coached to do. He said, listen, the prudent, they pay attention. And here's the deal. They can protect themselves. They can make the right decisions. They don't need rescuing. They don't need you to rescue them. See, I know that's a hard position for us as parents, but that's our job. Our job is to raise them up to where they get to the point where they no longer need you to rescue them. They no longer need you to make decisions for them. They no longer need you to look over their forms and to do this and to do that and to make sure your little Johnny is being protected and nobody's harming your little Johnny. I'm sorry, but the world we live in, there are a lot of people around that are going to try to hurt little Johnny. And the most important thing that we can do for little Johnny is to teach him to keep his head on the swivel. That we can teach him to be prudent and to pay attention and to see for himself the evil that is around so that he can handle it. Because if he doesn't, the second person he mentions here is the naive. See, this is the person who's not aware. They're not paying attention. They're just kind of going through life like this. Every Monday morning, tomorrow morning is our last one. I do an FCA Bible study for the football team in the band room at the high school. And we get done right about the time all the students are coming out of the lunchroom, getting ready to go to class. And I just sit back, and me and Mr. Wise, the band director, were sitting there watching the other day of how many kids came out of the lunchroom. I have no idea how they made it down the hall to their class. I honestly don't believe that they ever looked up at another human being. See, that is an example of what it means to keep our head down and not pay attention. And that's what happens when we rescue our kids too much. When we bail our kids out too much. When we never let them scrape a knee. When we never let them get called a bad name. When we never let them go through any hurts, pains, or issues. They never learn to protect themselves. They never learn to be prudent. They never learn to keep their head on a swivel. They go through life, and let me ask you, what happens when real trouble comes? Next thing they know, they wake up and it's Tuesday. They wake up and they have no idea what happened. And I pray for you and your family that something doesn't happen and that you don't have the ability to rescue them from it. That we let it go so far and we let kids become so naive that they get themselves in so much trouble we can't rescue them. That we can't helicopter parents sweep in and take care of the problem. You see, we love our kids. We want to protect our kids. So one of the best things that we can do, one of the most powerful things that we can do is to teach our children to be prudent. Teach them to see the evil that's around them and to be able to handle it for themselves. Give them a clear vision. Give them a clear vision. And if you want to do that, the third one is extremely important. Scripture said it is the beginning of wisdom. Number 3, they need a fear of the Lord. The word need right there is actually pretty weak. They must have. They must have a fear of the Lord. Look at verse 4. The reward of humility and the fear of the Lord are riches, honor, and life. The reward of humility and the fear of the Lord are riches, honor, and life. Now this phrase, the fear of the Lord, man, it often gets misused and overused, and it gets butchered, and it gets mangled, and we don't understand it. And it's really pretty simple. It comes down to 2 things. Number 1, the fear of the Lord, yes, it is to be in awe of something. It is to love something so much that you literally fear hurting it. You literally fear disappointing it. That we love a parent, we love a teacher, that we love a spouse so much that there is an actual element of fear in us that I love this person so much, I don't want to hurt them. Because what they think about me is so important to me. My love for them is so important to me. Their love for me is so important to me. That there's an actual element of fear that I'm going to live my life in a way that makes them proud, that makes them happy. I care about what they think about me. There's an element of fear there. But you know what else the fear of the Lord means? It literally means to fear. It means to fear. Listen, we've softened that kind of in our culture. That, we don't want to think of God that way. We want to think of God as this loving guy on a cloud, playing a harp, giving everybody rainbows and Skittles and having a wonderful day. And we don't want to fear that God. But I want you to understand something. The fear of the Lord has nothing to do with abuse. God also isn't this Zeus-looking character up on a cloud ready to throw a lightning bolt down and hit you with it. It has nothing to do with abuse. It has nothing to do with power. It has to do with His love for you. His love for you, and because He loves you, He corrects you. He corrects me. There's a whole bunch in Hebrews chapter 11. I'm not going to go over all of it right now. That basically lays this out for us. That God chastens us. It means He punishes us. He corrects us and puts us on the right path. Not because He's abusive, but because He loves us. And He is infinitely smarter than we are. And because He's infinitely smarter than we are and loves us more than we can ever understand, He sometimes interjects Himself in our lives and straightens us out. Because the path we are on is the path of destruction. And He loves us and wants to help us. You know what, Mama and Dad? Just like you do with your kids. Just like you do with your children. Is it loving to never punish your kids? Is it loving to never correct your children? Is it loving to be your child's best friend and not their parent? It is not. It is your job to correct them, not because you're abusive, but because you love them. They may be a teenager and they may think they're smarter than you, but parents, they're not. I promise they're not. You're smarter than they are. You have more experience, you have more life than they do. And if you have to correct them and they don't like you, so be it. It is better to have a child that doesn't like you in the moment, but is safe for eternity, than a child that thinks you're their best friend and you set them up to fail the rest of their life. God corrects us because He loves us. And there has to be an element of fear there. An element of fear of what is my Heavenly Father going to think about this? Is this the way He wants me to love people? Is this the way He wants me to treat people? Is this the way He wants me to serve people? And when we disobey that, the fear that comes along with it. Because He says, listen, if we do that, then we'll have the humble heart that comes with it. We'll have the heart that has the right perspective of where we are in life. And there are 3 beautiful things that come with it. You can see them in the text right there. So the first one is riches. Riches. Now listen, please get the material out of your mind. Get the material out of your mind, because this is the Hebrew word for wealth. And it means a wealth of love. It means a wealth of knowledge. It means a wealth of wisdom. A wealth of sensitivity for other people. It means a wealth of things that you cannot buy with money. A wealth of things that have to be earned. But a wealth of things that will last your child forever a wealth of things that will help give them a right reputation. See, it is our job to invest. Again, whether you're a biological mom, or whether you're a neighbor, or whether you're a Sunday school teacher, or whether you're just a lady in the community, so many women in our culture have invested into these children. And when we invest into them with humility, we give them the ability to be rich. We also give them the ability to have honor, to be a child of integrity, a child of character, a child of a good reputation. That way when a future boss calls up the old boss and they ask him, hey, tell me off the record, because I will say that. I understand that there are certain things that you can't say. But I need you to tell me off the record, what am I getting into with this individual? If they say, listen, you're getting a young man or a young woman of character and integrity, then I know I'll get the young man or young woman that fears the Lord, that understands their place in all of this. I know I'm getting a young person of honor that's going to do the job. And that leads to the last one, that is life. And it is not about quantity of life, it's about quality of life. It's about a life on mission. It's about a life with purpose. It's about a life that means something. Not like the naive that are just going through and just filling days. But it's about that prudent person that's paying attention and fulfilling the call that God's put on their life. Having a life of quality, not just quantity. So one of the greatest gifts we can give our kids is they fear the Lord. But mom and dad, they better see it in us. They have to see it in us. We set the table for them. Do they see or fear the Lord in us? Do they understand what that means? Because as the Proverbs say, the fear of the Lord, it is the beginning of wisdom. That is where wisdom starts, with the fear of the Lord. And if we do all those, this is the last one, number 4. The last one, they need a firm foundation. A firm foundation. Look at verses 5 through 6. Thorns and snares are in the way of the perverse. He who guards himself will be far from them. Train up a child the way he should go. Even if he is old, he will not depart from it. Again, it's not if, it's when. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. When your child faces tough decisions, when your child has a tough choice to make, what have we given them? What have we equipped them with to make the right choice? Because there's only two. There's the right choice and there's the wrong choice. Verse 5, it's pretty clear. That they're going to be thorns and snares all through our life, and we're going to go do the right thing and the wrong thing. Now, as human beings, we are masters of inventing gray areas. We love to invent gray areas when it comes to tough choices. You know why we do that? It's not because it's hard to know what's right and wrong. It's not. It's hard to do what's right. We know what's right. We know how we need to treat people, how we need to love people. We know when it comes down to dealing with somebody who may think about sexuality different than we do, who thinks politics different than we do, who thinks about race different than we do. We know, and we invent these gray areas of why we don't have to be kind and loving to people. We invent these gray areas not because loving people, we don't know if we need to do that or not. No, because we don't want to sacrifice and do the things that we need to do to make the right choice, to do the right thing. To love people and serve people the way Jesus has called us to love and serve people. So we invent gray areas so we can live in the gray area. As a matter of fact, there is no gray area. There is right and there is wrong. And when your child is faced with this decision, verse 6 tells us what we can do for them to give them the ability to make the right choice and live out that right choice. The first thing it says you have to train them. You have to train them. The word train is simple. It means to mold. It means to teach. It means to live out. It means to hold accountable. You are going to have to correct your children lovingly compassionately, but consistently correct them, to train them, to set the example before them of what it means to fear the Lord. But it is our responsibility, moms and dads. It is not our teachers' responsibility to train our kids. They have other things they're supposed to be doing. I feel for public school teachers. I do. I don't know how you ever get a chance to teach anything. Because you're too busy having to train kids who weren't trained at home. If you think coming to church on Wednesday night and coming to Sunday school on Sunday morning and hanging out is as great a job as Kim and George do with our kids, if you think they're going to be able to give your kid the spiritual foundation they need for their life, it is not going to happen. They don't have enough time. That has to happen in the home. The job here is to reinforce what you're teaching in the home. It is the job of the parents to train and to mold and to train them in what? The way they should go. The way they should go. And that is extremely simple. To live on mission and purpose for the glory of Jesus. That's it. Now we confuse this. We can make this about politics. We can make this about being Republican or conservative. We can make this about being a Democrat and liberal. We can make this about being we can make it about being Baptist or Methodist or Presbyterian. We can make it about all kinds of things. I want to make sure they are trained up in the way that the Southern Baptist should go. No. Train them in the way that Jesus went. Train them in the way that brings glory and honor to Jesus. That other stuff will work itself out. We train them in the way that do y'all see these big massive banners behind me? It says mission and purpose. Because that's the mission and purpose. Is to glory and honor Jesus. Our job is to train them in the way of the glory and honor of Jesus. Now, the last part of that verse can be confusing. Because it says, even when he is old, he will not depart from it. Anybody in here ever raised in the church and when you got older you made stupid choices? You ever had children who were raised in the church and when they got older, they did depart from it? See, that's where we misunderstand the second part of this verse. It does not mean that every single child that is raised in the church is going to grow up to be a perfect Christian. One, that's not logical. It's not practical. There's only been one, and his name is Jesus. None of us are him. What that verse is telling us, it means that they will always have the right training. The right training ingrained in him or her to do the right thing. That when we train them from a young age to love and serve Jesus, to be on mission for Jesus, and by loving and serving the people in our community that Jesus loved and served, that when we train them to love and serve like Jesus, then we're giving them the training that they need that will never depart from them. When we were in Hamilton, Alabama, there was a retired guy who was in the Special Forces, and he was in the Special Forces in Desert Storm. And he told me the story, and it stuck with me. He said when he came home from Desert Storm, he came back and lived with his mom and dad for a little while, and he didn't like his bed. So he would sleep on the floor. He just got used to sleeping in the floor, I don't know, something like that. But he was sleeping on the floor one night, and his dad got up to go into the kitchen and make some coffee. And he said, I was sitting there sleeping, and my dad tried to step over me. And he said, when my dad stepped over me, he said, something inside of me just snapped. I grabbed my dad, threw him on the ground, and had him in some kind of chokehold thing that he tried to explain to me that I don't understand. And he said, before I realized it, he said, I almost killed my own father. He said, because what happened was, my training kicked in. He said, my training kicked in. Before I realized what was going on, my training kicked in. I had my own father on the ground, about to take his life, before he realized what happened. See, that's what this verse is talking about. It's not telling you that your kids are going to be perfect when they get older. Let me go ahead and tell you right now, they're not. Just like your parents' children were not perfect when they got old either. What it's teaching us is that we are giving them the training that they need, the instinct that they need when they do get older to make good decisions. For that instinct to just kick in, to become second nature when they're in that moment, to be able to do the right thing. Here's the thing, parent. You are giving them the foundation they need to be the person that Christ died for them to be. And that's the best you can do. That's the best you can do. The best you can do is give your child everything they need to be the best person that they can be. Then it's up to them. Listen, give them the material stuff. I'm not one of these anti-giving your kids stuff on their birthday or on Christmas or that kind of thing. That's fine. That's between you and the Holy Spirit, how much you need to give your kid materially. It's okay to a point. Again, that's between you and the Lord. But understand, phones break. PlayStations shut down. Cars get wrecked. Sooner or later, these material things that you give your child, it's going to fade away. The most important thing that you can give your child, you give them a good name. You help them become a person with a wonderful reputation. You give them the ability to have a clear perspective. Help them to be able to see the world for what it is. And that is scary because the world is scary. It is not nice, it is not clean, and it is not fun. But help them see the evil that is around them so that they are equipped to handle it. Teach them to fear the Lord. Teach them to love the Lord so much that they want to live a life that makes Him proud. That they live in awe of His great mercy. And you will do it for them. You will have given them the firm foundation that they need. The firm foundation that they need to be the adult that Christ has called them to be. Now, if you're here this morning and you're not sure whether or not you have those things, I'm not talking about the good reputation. I'm not talking about any of that stuff. I'm talking about the very basic of it is, have you given your life to Christ? Didn't ask if you were baptized. Didn't ask if you came up front of the church. Didn't ask any of that stuff. Have you given your life to Christ? Are you on mission and purpose for the glory of Jesus? If you're not sure, do not leave this place until you're sure. You can't teach something you're not practicing yourself. And I will tell you right now, I struggle with this as much as anybody in this room. I almost want to skip Mother's Day and Father's Day. Because these are hard sermons to preach. Because when you truly prepare for this stuff, the Holy Spirit will point out to you, listen, feel free to preach that, but understand where you're missing it in your life too, buddy. Maybe you're a parent in here and you just need to do better. You need to love the Lord better. You need to serve better. And you need somebody to pray for you. You need somebody to encourage you. Man, we'd love to do that. Or if you need a church family to rally around you, to be here for you, to help equip you to give your children those things, we would love to be that church family for you. But let's leave out here today, enjoy Mother's Day, spoil Mom, do everything you can for Mom. But moms and dads, let's understand when we leave out here today that we are challenged to give our kids more than the material. Let's give them the things that help them to be the adult that God has called them to be.